The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And right now on the podcast, I've got a NRLW review of the round number 3, something that I think I look forward to doing each and every week, hopefully, and something that I think needs a bit of attention because the women's game is definitely growing. And on the line, I've got a former NRLW player, but is still playing women's rugby league, Kiana Takarangi. How are you going?
Hey, Troy, I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No, not a problem. You've been there, won a premiership and played the game, and I know you're very keen about the NRLW. We're into round number 3 at the moment, and obviously the 5 games over the weekend. Started off with the Roosters versus the West Tigers when was it? Sorry, Saturday, up there at Gosford. What were your thoughts on this game that was won by the Roosters, 20 points to 4?
Yeah, so I've kind of struggled to get across all of the games just with the timing of them. I think it's a little bit challenging. I think a lot of people are having the same sort of problems because the girls are playing so early. I know a lot of people have their own sport on a Saturday morning at those sorts of times. So It's been a little bit of catch up for me, not getting to watch all the games live. But I did see that game was really close, especially the first half between the Tigers and the Roosters. I know the Roosters ended up coming home strong. I think that was a really strong performance by Jess Surgis again, who was probably one of the key players in helping the Roosters get that win. But noticeably a couple of injuries as well for the Tigers, which caused a little bit of a reshuffle, which is probably going to hurt them, especially if they lose Kezia Apps, one of them who's obviously a big part of the team.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Tigers went into half-time 4-0, and it was a very low-scoring first half. But as you mentioned there, the Roosters, they came out in the second half and scored 4 tries and also kicked 2 goals as well to get the win. I think the Tigers played really well, but as you mentioned there, injuries did curse them a little bit there. And I think I have seen today that I think Kezia Apps is out for the season, I think, unfortunately, for the Tigers.
No.
Yeah,
that's a big loss.
It is. But in that, they did play really well. Unfortunately, they still sit on the bottom of the ladder, but a much improved performance from the Tigers. The Roosters, they get their second win of the season. The Raiders and the Sharks game was played down in Canberra. Won by the Sharks, 24 points to 12. The Sharks are now 3 from 3, so they're off to a flyer this season. What did you make of that game?
Yeah, the Sharkies have strung together some good wins there. I think that one was a pretty close game. I wasn't sure who was going to come away with the win because Canberra have shown some really good form early on this season. So I know they'll be disappointed with that loss. But, the Sharks are playing some good footy. You know, they've still had a couple of big outs with Emma Tonegado and Jada Taylor being out with injury. Obviously, Jada's gone for the season doing her ACL. But I think Georgia Hanaway, who is playing in the 6, she had a really good game, just some smart kind of eyes up footy, a couple of tries on the back of that, which was really good. So, yeah, it's good to see the Sharks playing some good footy and getting some good wins early on.
Yeah, and the same as the first game, the Raiders were 8-0 at half-time going into the Sheds. looking in control. A couple of tries to Madison Bartlett on the wing there for the Raiders, and unfortunately for them, the Sharks came away with the victory in the second half, 24 points to 12. Tiana Penatani scored their first try, and Nessa Biddle their second. As you mentioned, they're pretty a well-balanced side. Taylor Preston leading them around pretty well and going really well at the moment in the competition, 3 from 3, top of the ladder. The next game, the one that I was excited to watch, was the Cowboys taking on the Eels up there in Brisbane, Totally Workwear Stadium. The Eels getting away with the victory, 20 points to 6, their second win of the season. What did you make of that game?
Yeah, I only caught the highlights, or I watched back the mini of this game, and I'm loving seeing the Eels. Obviously, I know you are as well, but I'm loving seeing them come away with some wins early on. I think having the new coach in Steve has obviously worked wonders for them, because they look like a completely different team to last year, even though it's majority of the same girls there. So just shows, what a little bit of a change can do, in regards to having a different coach. But I think that, like seeing Cassie Tohihiku in the 6, getting her hands on the ball a lot more is really good for them. I know she's a dangerous player, and she's someone that you just want to be involved as much as you can. So I think she's doing well there in the 6, and I love that the work that Abby Church is doing at the back. I think she's doing really well, and she's quite underrated, but she's showing that she's a really classy player as well. So yeah, it's good to see that. Also, I think someone who's made a big difference is having Elsie Albert back. She was really missed last year for the girls there, so I think she's made a massive impact for that team. And it's good to see these teams who didn't do so well last year just showing some really strong performances this year.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned Elsie Albert there, 218 metres in running metres, and definitely has made a difference. Missed most of last season, as did Rachel Pearson as well. So they definitely have made a difference to this Eels side. And one player that I sort of took an eye to yesterday was Chloe Jackson in the second row. A real workhorse, 34 tackles, nearly scored a try, but certainly one to watch out for. As you mentioned, Abby Church coming second in the Dally M Player of the Year at the moment, leading the team from the back there, scored a great try as well. So 2 wins out of 3 so far for the Eels. They only managed 1 win last year, so they've already doubled that one and sit in 3rd place on the ladder. So a good start for them. This next game surprised me, though. The Broncos versus the Titans, won by the Broncos 44 points to 4 over the Titans. The Broncos were 0 from 2, so they needed to get this win, but they did it pretty comprehensively, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They had their Gail Broughton back for them, who obviously made a big difference to their game, I thought. It was the Mela show, Mela Hufanga, who was just fighting a mark. She got 4 tries, which is massive. And I think the addition of Stacey Walker as well, coming back straight off the gold medal over in France, in the Paris Olympics, I think that was massive for them. What a strong addition to add to your team. So, yeah, really good win by the Bronx.
Yeah, a little bit disappointing from the Titans. They are a pretty fair squad and one of the competition favourites. They obviously would be disappointed about that one. They dropped down to, I think it's 4th place on the ladder now, or 5th place actually. But the Broncos, they definitely needed that win, and they did it in massive style there, 44 points to 4. The next game after that was the last game of the round, played there up at your old home ground, the Newcastle Knights against the Dragons, St George Illawarra Dragons, and another team who hadn't got off to a good start this season, the Dragons. They got the win, 18 points to 10 over the Premiers, the Newcastle Knights. It was a great game, that one.
Yeah, it was a big upset, that one, and I love that. I like, to keep it exciting. It gets a bit boring. It's the same old team winning all the time, but big ups to the Dragons. They obviously had Tyler back in the squad again. Another one who's come straight from the Olympics, winning a gold over there, but that she I think just made a big impact for her team there. I think the middles, Tekka in the middle and Alexis Taonea, I think they both stepped up massively. And Knights have obviously lost Caitlin Johnson to a potential MCL injury, looking like it could be the season. So she's a big out for the Knights, and I think they kind of lacked her presence there a little bit. Dragons just proving to be too good and getting the win, which makes things exciting.
Yeah, definitely. The Newcastle Knights obviously went into that game favourites over the Dragons, but I guess in any game of rugby league, it doesn't matter who's favourites or outsiders. It just depends on who turns up on the day, who can get the win. So some pretty exciting action over the weekend. It sees the top four look this way: the Sharks, the Roosters, Eels and Knights, and the Titans in 5th, Broncos 6th, Raiders, Dragons, Cowboys, Tigers. What has been your make on the season so far? We're only 3 weeks into it, but are we slowly starting to see each team work each other out?
It's kind of hard to say. I think there hasn't, I think it's very up and down. There aren't really, I don't know, I don't think anyone stood out massively as, the team to beat. I think, the results showed over the weekend, it's kind of anyone's game. It's just whoever's going to turn up and play, consistent footy for the 70 minutes. But, yeah, I'm loving it. There's so many games to watch across the weekend. You're never really bored now because you can watch footy all the way from 11 a.m. through to, 9 o'clock with the men's games as well. So, yeah, I'm just loving having heaps of footy.
Who is your early tip at this stage for the premiership, the NRLW premiership?
Oh, I'd like to say the Roosters. I just think they're super strong overall, but I think they need to pull together some 70-minute performances rather than just, the one strong half. So if they can do that, I think that they'll be tough to beat. How about you?
Obviously Newcastle are right up there as well. Obviously the Titans, as I mentioned before, but by the results on the weekend, it could be anybody's premiership. But the Roosters are strong. They've got a lot of strong players in their side. Canberra might be a little bit of a surprise packet.
Yeah, agree.
But we'll just have to wait and see. So.
That's it.
Kiana, thank you very much for joining me for this week, and hopefully we can chat again next week about the games. Really appreciate it, and we'll look forward to hearing about your career chat as well.
No worries. Thanks, Troy. We'll chat again soon.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast.